Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things we're talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We
It's
have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First
the
Contact
truth.
Radio. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. This is the Friday edition. Today, here we are at the 15th, so we've made a transition, or we are making a transition from one sign to the next. We're going from Aries to Taurus. This is as far as our moon sign goes. That happens at 8:49 a.m. So before the show is over, a transition will have been made. So we're in the midst of it right now. Okay, so we're going from fire to earth. Fire to earth. Ideas to practicality. Okay, fire is ideas. Earth is practicality. The reason it's practicality is because you're taking the fire, the water, the air, and you're making them into a tangible, something practical, earthly, an object, form. So that is the idea. Okay. Taurus also, the tarot cards relate to the card of the Hierophant, which is all about listening to the inner teacher. Don't get caught up in the physical world. Go inside, because there is the intuition. Tuition. Think of it when you go to school, you pay tuition. The intuition, the inner school on the inside, the inner teacher. All right. So that's where we're going on as far as the moon sign was. The sun sign is still Scorpio, so we got water on the outside, earth on the inside, the subconscious. Well, we know how earth and water works together. They can work real nice. The earth can be floating on the water. The water can surround the earth, or the earth can be so much that it absorbs all the water because there's more earth, or there could be more emotions in which all of the land, the earth gets flooded and dissipated. So we have to pay attention in all things how we use the elements. So in this case, earth and water, the two we're looking at. Now our moon phase right here is almost up to that full moon, 96% of the way there. Our Mayan Oracle, we're at a 3-tone day. 3 tones are called the electric tones of activation, or the electric tone of service. They're about activating. Today, the kin symbol for today, or otherwise known as the kin, is the warrior. Warrior asks questions. It uses intelligence. We want to use our intelligence to be warriors rather than our fists. We want to avoid the fights, and we do so by using our minds. Our minds are our best weapons. When we use them intelligently with the right questions, we can get to the bottom of situations. The guide for today is the sun, which brings enlightenment, that universal life force that shines down upon all of us. So we have the electric warrior guided by the sun, and then the supporting cast, you have a like-minded energy, which is night, which is dreams, abundance, intuition. The challenge is our ability to look at the world in life and death, look at the division between the two, and the hidden power, also known as the occult. Kin, and occult is a word which only means that which is hidden. There's no other meaning to it. It doesn't mean good, doesn't mean bad. It means something that is hidden. It is occult. So in this case, the serpent, our life force energy, that's our hidden power, this energy we have really inside of ourselves. Then we take all this together, the tone, symbols, and we look at the phrase for today. It's I activate in order to question, bonding fearlessness. I seal the output of intelligence with the electric tone of service. I am guided by the power of universal fire. You also notice that there's these other different phrases here. Red, Eastern Castle of Turning. I'll get into explaining that a little bit more next week. These are different positions and movements along this system here of where we're at in the Earth family. Cardinal, Clan, Sky, these are all designations because if you notice, there's 4 colors, red, white, blue, and yellow. Red, white, blue, yellow. So each one of these, the red family is one, the white, the yellow, the blue, and they're all grouped together and organized in different ways. So next week, I'll go ahead and I'll get into that a bit more so you can understand that. But I'm going to move on today. We have the solar wind, 357.0 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is in the quiet range between the 1 and a 2. Our coronal hole looks like it's moving away. Not quite as large as it was yesterday, but we are going to be feeling the effects of the wind coming off of that sun over the next couple days, and we're feeling the effects now of the coronal holes that were there days ago. M-class flare possibilities dropped down again. Now it's down to 50%. It's going to go down even further in the next 24 to 48 hours. And M-class flare possibility is down as well and continuing to drop. Geomagnetic storm activity looks like it's pretty low as well also. Here's the report from suspicious observers for today. All right, here we go.
Good morning, folks. Last night it was reported that Comet ISON is an outburst. Came from the pros, but unfortunately, we still have the people who stole and photoshopped Bruce Gary.
Hold on, I'm playing for you the one from yesterday. I gotta be up to date and current, so let me go over here. Where is it at? Is this it? I believe this. Nope, that's not it here. Hold on a second. Let me find this for you. Where's today's video? 15:15. I don't see a video for the 15th here. Alright, well, suspicious observers report isn't apparently there for today, so we're just going to jump on to the next bit of information here. Yeah, I don't see any report for him today. We're going to jump on to the story for today. Alright, so no worries. Alright, Jesus and Buddha. That's what we're going to have the theme for today, Jesus and Buddha, who they were, what they were about. You know, a lot of times people think that Jesus and Buddha are two opposites, that they have nothing in common. But when one really spends time studying their works, there really is a lot of common between the two of them. They're brothers, maybe not from the same period of time, but it's obvious that they're certainly brothers in spirit, and they both were talking about very similar issues. Very similar things that we need to understand and learn. And then when one studies the background of Jesus and finds out that Jesus, during his 17 years when he was gone, because we know that at 13 he just disappeared. And then a lot of people say, oh, he just was a carpenter. Well, we don't hear about him just being a carpenter during that time. He doesn't go from teaching in the temple to teaching the adults of what's going on, the scriptures, to just disappearing and then going into woodworking. There would have been some trail of those wanting to know more about him. So 17 years he disappeared, and there's a lot of information about where he went during that time. One of the places was to India, that his path crossed the path of Buddha. So what I have here is a piece. It's called Jesus and Buddha, and it talks all about that exact connection. So check this out. I think you're going to like it.
This is interesting because on Earth you cannot find one person who don't like to be happy and who like to suffer. You cannot find one. Everybody like to be happy. Everybody don't want to suffer. So the teaching of Buddha is based on that. The teaching of Christ is based on that. And why? I think it's because both of them are humans.
Right.
But the good thing is if you are following pure Christian lineage, then you are following the path already.
In the New Testament, in John's Gospel, Jesus taught that I am the way, the truth, and the life, and that by following him you can enter the kingdom of God. Buddha taught that if you follow his path and lead a moral life, are mindful of your thoughts and actions, and develop wisdom and compassion, you could reach enlightenment too. In their teachings, both Jesus and Buddha provide a very practical guide to personal transformation that is remarkably similar.
Do to others as you would have them do to you. consider others as yourself.
Professor Duncan Durrett has been studying Buddhism for the past 50 years.
Any Buddhist hearing the Sermon on the Mount would immediately say to himself, here is the teaching of a Buddha, for sure.
If someone strikes you on the right cheek, offer him the other also.
If anyone should give you a blow with his hand, with a stick, or with a knife, you should abandon any desires and utter no evil words.
The Buddha and Jesus were attempting to achieve the same object, that an individual could be shown how to be righteous. Righteousness is a technical term amongst the Jews and amongst Christians. A righteous person will always look out for his duty to his neighbour, and the Buddha, on the other hand, is looking for what was called dharma, and that can also be translated righteousness. He wanted the individual to have a model, somebody who has got rid of anything which stands in the way of his being a perfect man.
Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who abuse you. From anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt.
Hatreds do not ever cease in this world by hating, but by love. This is an eternal truth. Overcome anger by love. Overcome evil by good. Overcome the miser by giving. Overcome the liar by truth.
The Buddhists think that there is a continuum of life, and by perfecting oneself, one reaches a stage where one is not reborn and suffers no more. Jesus talks about the kingdom of heaven, which exists on the earth amongst those who are real subjects of the real king, that is God himself. These teachings are very similar, and the Buddhist would understand the Christian, and vice versa.
There's so much similarity even in that aspect in Buddhism and Christianity, because I spent times in monasteries, and they use incense, and they use rosary, and also they use the folding the hand during the prayer. And also we have a double dorje, the cross of the Vajra, and you have the cross. So these are a lot of similarities are there. When you are following a path with one motivation to make everything better, make everyone free from suffering, then regardless of how long it will take, we are all going into the same direction. You understand?
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. So, as a Christian, when I look at the teachings of Buddha and see the similarities, in some ways, I'm not just following Jesus, I'm also following Buddha.
I can respect that. I can respect that, but I cannot speak for you. You have spoken.
Yeah. In Tibetan Buddhism, there is a type of holy figure known as a bodhisattva, someone who has put on full enlightenment so they can help others along the right path here on earth. Many Buddhists think Jesus was a bodhisattva. Before I left northern India, I wanted to meet one of Tibetan Buddhism's holiest leaders, the Gyama Karmapa, or the one who carries out the teachings of Buddha, the 17th reincarnation in a line stretching back over 800 years. I was granted a private audience. How would you explain Jesus as a Buddhist? Where would you place him?
Jesus was undoubtedly a great holy being for the world. And from a Buddhist perspective, we can definitely recognize him as a holy being. When someone abandons his own self-interest for the benefit of others, we can call him a bodhisattva. Although Jesus wasn't a Buddhist, we can still call him a bodhisattva.
One of the things that amazes me about the story of Jesus and the story of Buddha is the similarities in their teachings.
Their thoughts or teachings are similar because their motivation is to guide others towards the right path. If we look back into history, the stories of these holy beings are always similar. During Buddha Sakyamuni's time, the caste system was extremely prevalent. He worked very hard to undo the caste system and bring equality to all. For example, there were as many nuns as there were monks. Jesus also brought about many similar changes, such as equality and justice. They both understood their society's problems and so challenged those dogmas.
So what could be the cause of these similarities? At the time that the Bible was being written, we know that trade routes existed between India and Palestine via the Silk Road in the north and the sea in the south. And there are even Western historical accounts of travellers, diplomats and monks journeying from India to the Middle East. According to Indian sources, the Emperor Ashoka, who ruled most of India 250 years before Jesus was born, sent Buddhist missionaries all over Asia, and some may even have made it to Greece and Egypt. So there is a possibility that Buddhists and early Christians could have met and exchanged ideas.
In the course of this missionary endeavour, Buddhists will have found their way to all the major centres of learning. And so lives of Buddha will have found their way to Alexandria, we can be sure of it. They were engaging in a common search for truth, not only to find the truth, but how individuals might achieve it, whatever their backgrounds. So you may say there was a two-way exchange.
Yes, it is very possible. We have stories where sailors and soldiers who went on campaigns took Buddhist teachings with them. Some believe, and I have been informed, how during Jesus' lost years...
Uh-oh, that's where it ends. That's where it ends. So, but here, just kind of perfect timing. Trisha McCannon, who has been on the show before, she wrote this book called Jesus. It's Jesus, the explosive story of the 30 lost years in the ancient mystery religion. Okay, so this is a really good book that talks all about that background of who Jesus was, where he went when he was on that journey. And it was quite interesting. I'm going to get Trish back on the show. There is an interview, if you go look up at the site, an interview that we did, which talks about this. But I'm going to get her back on the show in one of these upcoming shows, and we'll find out a little bit more from her about that. All right? So UFO News is up next. I'll be right back.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. Today, I have 5 stories. All right, story number 1 comes to us from England, Swindon, England. Okay, this is another version. We saw this the other day, but this is another person's take on it. All right, so let's see what they have to say here. Okay, we see the images right here. This is a moment a hairdresser sees objects that he saw descending from the sky and hovering for a long time in the distant hillside. He decided to give them a little recording. At this time, another object ascends upwards, passing its companions to the higher sky, while another decides to descend. This could be a new crop circle for the historic Wiltshire fields, plagued by alien sightings, or could it be an area of an abduction? And here's this video. Right there, the two passing by. Alright. And the video itself is only like a minute and a half, minute 22 seconds. So I'm just going to jump ahead here. Alright, you see the little one passing it by now? And there it goes. Alright, very interesting indeed. So the link's available. Check it out, firstcontactradio.com. Alright, here's an interesting looking one. This is this snake-like object and then a little orb up here. This is kind of interesting. Caught in the sky last week of Tennessee. This snake-like UFO seems to have a friend not far from it. As you see in the photo above, there's a UFO orb not far above the long UFO, as if the orb is a drone that scouts for larger UFO to keep it out of trouble. Very interesting indeed. And we have a shot here of it. Alright. There it is. Most interesting indeed. Alright. So that is a very interesting looking one. It's kind of flying through there. Huh. Alright, pretty cool. Now, here's footage that was taken up on the moon. It's supposed to be leaked UFO footage. And look at this object we got right over here. That's a pretty good size object. And that's the kind of technology it takes to get to the moon. There's a big difference between this and the kind of stuff that we saw during the NASA missions, huh? It's pretty cool, and this video itself is 2 minutes in length. Alright, and zip on from here. Next story here, this is Unsealed Alien Files. Former American President Dwight David Eisenhower had 3 secret meetings with aliens, a former U.S. government consultant has claimed. The 34th President of the United States met with extraterrestrials at a remote airbase in New Mexico in 1954, according to lecturer and author Timothy Good. Eisenhower and other FBI officials are said to have organized the showdown with the space creatures by sending out telepathic messages. The 2 parties finally met up on 3 separate occasions at the Holloman Air Force Base, and there were many witnesses. Claims from Mr. Good, a former U.S. Congress and Pentagon consultant, are first to be made publicly by a prominent academic. Speaking on Frank Skinner's BBC Two Current Affairs show, Opinionated, he said that governments around the world have been in regular contact with aliens for decades. Alright, so here's a whole video about this particular subject right here. It's just shy of 20 minutes. So check this out. It gets in more detail about everything that I was just telling you about. And next, let's move on here. I wanted to pull this side up because I saw in your comments some questions about the Nibiruan Council and Jalailah Star. So I figured I'd bring the link up again. This is the site, the Nibiruan Council. Welcome to the official site of the Nibiruan Council, a multidimensional off-world council whose members are connected to the people of the planet Nibiru and the Nibiruans, ancient ancestors, the 9D Nibiruans. The Nibiruans' mission is to prepare humanity to take its rightful place in the greater galactic community. The Nibiruans are especially interested in assisting starseeds and walk-ins. Multidimensional ascension tools, along with accelerated program for DNA recording, will prepare them to be the teachers and the way showers needed today. Jalailah Star is the Nation Council's messenger and channel. Through her articles, workshops, and lectures, the Nibiruan Council's messages has touched the hearts of many people around the world, inspiring hope and understanding. And she has a lot of really great articles here. If you click on the articles link, you know, all about ascension, what is it, what it details, the whole process, talking about the different dimensional realities, fifth dimension. We hear a lot of talk about the fifth dimension, right? Dolores Cannon talks about it. Jalila Starr talks about it here. All right, then we get into understandings of other things like the shifts that are taking place. DNA information here. We hear about those from Nibiru when they came down here that they were involved with our genetic engineering. Well, if that's the case, if that's real, here's a bunch of information all about DNA, which relates directly to that genetic engineering. And then we have information if you are someone who feels you're down here on a mission, whether it's for whatever reason, but some sort of mission to help out with this next phase. Here's a lot of good information right here. And then we get more into dealing with the personal. So, as you can see, in the very end, 9D Council perspective on U.S. attacks, perspective on the elections, so we get a lot of different information here. All right. So that is the Nibiruan Council's website, and there you go. So that should answer some of your questions, certainly by providing plenty of links where you can go and double check anything you want there. But I didn't see that she doesn't have any videos that I saw up on YouTube. It's been a couple of months, I think 2 months, maybe a little longer since anything. So that's the latest of what I know of what's going on there. All right, that's it for the UFO news. I'll be back. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brothers watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if by land and two if by sea? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right. time to demand the truth. So we're going to continue on with the subject of Obamacare. Obamacare. You know, it's kind of crazy that the president has spent so many times, I believe it was 39 times that are on video, of going out and saying that if you like your insurance, you can keep your insurance. That he went out and kept saying this over and over and over. And then to come out and, instead of saying that he lied, because they'll never say he lied, but just, oops, it was a mistake. So nobody in his office, nobody that handles him could have told him after the first time he made that mistake. So he made the mistake a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time, and a fifth time. And we're still supposed to feel okay with that sort of leadership ability, that you could continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again. See, either way you look at it, whether it was a mistake or it was a lie, it's still someone who shouldn't be in a position to make those kind of decisions, because they obviously don't have the right character for that position, at least if the position involves integrity. Because if that was the case, to go out and admit that you've made mistakes 39 times, each time is people can go and they can confirm this because there's video evidence of you saying it. It just doesn't make sense. Well, if you start to put the pieces together, and as we've learned about Obama, his background, we start to see that it all makes perfect sense. It's only for those who aren't paying attention, right? So here it says, bombshell, Senator Rand Paul reveals Barack Obama wrote the regulation to cancel your insurance, and every Democrat voted for it. If you, like I, have brainwashed, intellectually dishonest liberal friends who still insist on giving Barack Obama a pass for every horrible, often criminal thing he has ever done, you might want to make them aware of this additional fact. According to Senator Rand Paul, who spoke at a luncheon in Charleston, South Carolina on Monday, November 11th, the President of the United States himself wrote the regulation to cancel the health insurance of millions of Americans, and every single Democrat voted for it. Rand Paul goes on to say, I'm still learning about its 20,000 pages of regulations. The bill was 2,000 pages, and I didn't realize until this week the whole idea of you losing or getting your insurance canceled wasn't in the original Obamacare. It was a regulation written by President Obama 3 months later. So we had a vote. This is before I got up there. The Republicans had a vote and tried to cancel that regulation so you couldn't be canceled, to grandfather everybody in. You know what the vote was? Straight party line. Every Democrat voted to keep that rule that cancels your insurance. As the now 20,000 plus Obamacare pages come home to roost, remind those who have continued to support the liar-in-chief regardless of his crimes of this simple fact. The man who sits in the Oval Office when he's not on the golf course and the party to which he had pledged their unquestioning allegiance has now wholly betrayed them and their children. Well, who could have seen that coming, huh? Who possibly could have imagined that Obama was going to betray anybody? I mean, geez, there wasn't any clues out there anywhere, were there? Not a few signs along the way? You've seen it, I've seen it. What's wrong with people that they're not seeing things, not paying attention? Here's a guy that I want to play this little clip here. This is Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly flipped out on this guy here. This is the guy, because Megyn Kelly geared up for round 2 against Obamacare architect Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel on Wednesday, as the two battled over the terrible rollout of the Affordable Health Care Act, or the Affordable Care Act. All right, let's just jump into this here. I'm just going to give you just a little sample. Just a sample. Here we go. Well, maybe not. Oh, there it is. Wrong place. Nope, that's not it either. Disappeared. There we go.
6,000 people to sign up every day for the next 32 days just to break even. That's not even talking about the 7 million who you guys needed from the get-go to make Obamacare work.
No, that's not right, Megyn. You've got the numbers wrong. 7 million includes the people who were expected from the individual market to come on as well. So it's not just 7 million and the number from the individual market. That's the first point. The second point is you have to remember, in the individual market, before Obamacare, the insurance companies were canceling people all the time. That's one of the reasons we wanted the exchanges to work. And I agree with you. Without the exchanges working, this cancellation policy is worrisome. It was worrisome before Obamacare. It's worrisome today. The key thing is to get the exchanges working, to get the website working, so those people have a place to go where they'll get better insurance at a more reasonable rate overall.
There's a lot in your answer. Let me ask you this first. Are you admitting then that it was foreseen that the individual insurance market would essentially collapse and that was a key facet of Obamacare working?
It's not a matter of foreseen. The insurance companies always cancel policies before.
It is a matter.
They did it before.
The fact of the matter. No, let's spin.
Let me just.
You know as well as I do that the mass cancellations we have seen tonight are hurting a lot of Americans. They're very upset, and their relationship with their doctor has been severed as a result of coverage in many
instances. Ms. Kelly, you don't seem to remember.
You keep downplaying it, sir, but it's happened.
No.
And now you say foreseeability is irrelevant. It is relevant. They want to know if you knew.
Maybe you would stop yelling at me.
Did you know or didn't you?
You don't see that before Obamacare, those kind of cancellations happened all the time. You never covered them. They were very common.
So to you, the two things are totally disconnected.
You keep interrupting. Isn't there any manners here?
Sir, it's a back and forth. I'm not just going to give you the platform for a soliloquy. Are you saying the two things are totally unrelated? Obamacare and the 5 million, pick your number, of cancellations in the individual market, totally unrelated?
No, I'm saying, look, the insurance industry was not forced to cancel anyone. They canceled people before, and they see this. They see the.
All right, so as you could see, it's going to go back and forth there, but to see Megyn get upset and actually asking some hardball questions, pushing this guy, that's a good thing. It would have been nice had they done the same thing when the Republicans were in office, if they would have been a biased news source, but they weren't. At least it's good to see now, because they are so much leaning towards that Republican side that they're on attack against Obamacare and everything Obama. So at least that's good, because the guy's not doing the right job. Now, we see the things that are going on with this guy. We see what he's saying. We can fact check his information. We've got video evidence of what he has said. We know he is lying over and over and over. Then you got his background and Antichrist connection and all this other stuff. Okay? We're looking at this man, and we are understanding what he is about. We're also understanding there's a lot of hidden about this man that you're not supposed to know about. It's kind of crazy, but anyone who's paying attention could see that there is something really deceitful about the whole situation. However, this is how Americans are being painted by Miss Oprah Winfrey in regards to this, and I just had to bring this up because you can't make this stuff up. This is real. This is someone that also a lot of people have trusted, and listen to what she's saying.
Oprah Winfrey has been a prominent supporter of Barack Obama. She thinks that both he and the office of president have been treated with contempt because of the color of his skin.
There's a level of disrespect for the office that occurs, and that occurs in some cases and maybe even many cases because he's African American. There's no question about that, and it's the kind of thing that nobody ever says.
You know, that just seems to be a very irresponsible statement, because we're not living in that situation, and she should know better. I mean, Martin Luther King Jr. said that he hoped there would be a day when man would be judged by the content of his character rather than the color of his skin. Well, did she forget about this? Did you forget about that, Oprah? Because he has not shown good content of character. And if you want to flip things around, guess what? There were a lot of people who voted for him just because of the color of his skin, without knowing a thing about the content of his character. So what do we say about those individuals? Obviously, they are very uninformed Americans, because rather than paying attention to their history and what was told to them and shared to them so that they could grow, they didn't use that information wisely. And here they are, all those years later, voting for a man by the color of his skin, not the content. Now, that's not everybody, okay? There's many people that have learned about what's going on and paid attention because they've gone through all of this experience looking at an objective way. It's not fair, Oprah, that you're saying that because you got a lot of people out there that do trust you and have listened to what you say, but you're not coming across as someone who's trying to promote unity. You seem like you're wanting to promote racism, and that's wrong. You know, it's kind of crazy. If one is to look at history, one would understand that the Democratic Party is the party of slaves. I'm not making this up. Go read history. Go read the history, and then ask yourself, why is it there's this party, the party of slavery, now has a man in office of color who was voted into office by many simply because he was the same color as them? It all seems kind of a weird, strange thing that all of these persons of color are so incensed on being part of this party that's the party of slavery. Go look it up. It's history. That's all you have to do. You already know this. Many of you already know this. Your friends and your families, they don't understand this. They don't want to believe this. Man should be judged by the content of his character, not by the color of his skin. And we could see the character that this man has and the lies he's telling, and there's something lacking in all of that. Something really lacking. Now, when he first came into office, we heard a lot of stuff about how he was going to radically change things, right? Well, I'm going to play a little clip of this, because during the time that he's been in office, and when he talked about a civilian army that needed to occur, stronger, more well-funded, there has been a building of an army that is out there, an Obama army, in this regards. Okay? So, behind the scenes, something going on. You know, the guy who was just there, Emmanuel, the guy who Megyn Kelly was talking about, can't you imagine throwing Nazi uniform on that guy, and he kind of fits in as one of those you'd imagine out the gas chambers. There's something very bizarre about what's going on, and this story here ties into this bizarreness, because listen to what they're doing. All you got to do, as you know, is to put the pieces together.
Well, there's another strange story out about the Department of Homeland Security. The agency has announced a requirement for armed protective security officer services at various locations throughout Minnesota and Wisconsin to the tune of $19 million. And what's more, DHS says, quote, the project will have a requirement for the contractor to have a top secret facility clearance by the start of performance. Now, in light of all that has come out about DHS stockpiling hollow point ammunition and other sorts of bullets and full auto assault rifles and purchasing checkpoint booths and retrofitting armored vehicles, a lot of people are asking, what is going on now? What is this all about? Is it for a legitimate purpose? And if so, what is that purpose? So we're going to try to get some answers today from Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert. He's also vice chair of the Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security. And it's so wonderful to talk to you, Congressman. Thanks so much for being with us.
Great to talk to you, Janet. Thank you, and I appreciate the work you've done on this issue. I tell you, there's just a lot of things that continue to be unanswered by the Department of Homeland Security, and I use that term loosely because, as Coburn has pointed out, Senator Tom Coburn, the department is wasting money right and left. They're disorganized. And, they've spent supposedly $90 billion on border security, and the border is not secured at all. Some estimates are around 40% or so. And so with this report about new efforts in Wisconsin and in that area, it makes no sense whatsoever. So I'm just giving all this background to listeners so they can understand that hopefully they should be as skeptical of Homeland Security and the Justice Department as I think you and I are.
Well, I agree with you, and all the things that you've mentioned we've talked about a lot on the show as well.
All right, so the link's available so you can listen to the rest of it. This situation has gotten out of hand. We can all see that it's gotten out of hand. Unfortunately, everybody has to take responsibility for what's going on in the world, because remember, it's a spiritual battle. Okay? We created this situation. We need to figure out now how to get out of it. The way that we created it was by not paying enough attention. Sure, many of us have paid attention for some time, but That wasn't always the case with everyone on this planet. And so because we weren't paying attention, because apathy was allowed into the situation, there was a lack of care about what was going on. So the leaders behind the scenes went and they plotted and planned, and the world we live in today is as it is because we've allowed the little lie to become a bigger lie and a bigger lie, and then we've allowed it to be okay for our politicians to lie because it was part of the political process. And then eventually got to the point where we got, since our politicians are liars, we eventually elected liars into our offices to rule over us. So that we have these liars that are in office that we've allowed to be there. Well, now it's time to demand the truth, correct the situation, because the lies are no longer serving us. One lie after another. And when you can see that someone's lying to you, it's kind of hard to look at the person that same way. It's hard to look at the situation in the same way, and you wonder why so many people are fooled by the lie. That's the part. Are Americans, are people that weak-minded, that they're that easy to lie to? It sure seems like it sometimes. It sure does. All right, Area 51, speaking of lying, here is a nice, good video here. I'm not going to play this. I'm going to leave it for you. But it says Area 51 has captivated American imagination for decades, prompting questions about what the U.S. government does at the secret facility. Now, new revelations pulled away from the veil of secrecy, allowing the public to enjoy an unprecedented look at the history under the world's most enigmatic locations. A new article published on Space.com details some of the new information about Area 51, including an incident in which it was photographed, perhaps inadvertently, by astronauts during a 1974 Skylab mission. The article is based on a document declassified by the CIA. Area 51, also known as Groom Lake, was the only publicly acknowledged by the CIA in July of this year. By that time, it had already become the nation's worst-kept secret, yet the not-so-secret base did a pretty good job covering up its actual day-to-day operations, which led to the wild conspiracy theories and rumors about what actually happened there. For the public imagination, Area 51 was an ultra-secret facility that tested alien technology from recovered UFOs. Some stories even claimed alien bodies or live aliens were housed there or interacted with the government agents. Area 51 became a staple of science fiction. All right. And it goes on to say the government secrecy. Adding to the rumors was the persistent, even obstinate government secrecy, from official denials to dire warnings. Government secrecy was so intense that when the 1974 Skylab mission photographed the area from space, there was a high-level discussion between CIA and security officials and NASA as to whether the photograph should be released to the public. Eventually, it was quietly placed in the public archive where it sat forgotten for decades. All right, so basically, you can see it's a long article. I'm going to let you read the rest. Basically, it gets into talking about, they were just doing spy planes. No UFOs there. Basically, one of these move along people, nothing to see here. We've lied to you this long. We're going to keep lying to you again because we pretty much know that you're not very smart sheeple, and we're just going to keep lying because you'll believe everything we say. That seems to be the stance that they have. But there's a lot of smart people, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's very bizarre to have so many smart people able to look at a situation and understand what it's about, and yet there are those still trying to fool people and getting away with it. How does that happen? How is that happening? If you have an answer for me, I'd like to know that, and I'm sure you'd like to know as well. Because how are so many people being fooled? I don't get it. Don't get it. All right. What do you no longer need? Everything in life serves a purpose and plays a role on your healing journey, beginning with your thoughts and your beliefs. Even the energies you use to create your life serve a purpose, and there is a time when they are no longer useful or appropriate. Each thing that you no longer enjoy has fulfilled its purpose in your life, and is something you no longer need? Can you release those things knowing that this is a sign of closure and compilation? What is no longer joyful represents an energy that you are complete with, you are finished with, and it is also finished with you. Just as you have learned your lessons from each experience, they also have lessons they learn from you. In each situation, you are both student and teacher, the one who must learn, and through your learning, you teach others. Whether it is a person or an experience, there comes a time when it no longer holds any learning or energy for you, but you also no longer hold energy for it. The connection disappears and becomes unfulfilling, unsatisfying, and the potential for healing, learning, and transformation is gone. Without an energetic connection, it has become something you no longer need and can now release. When your life is filled with things you no longer need, there is feeling of being stuck and unhappy because there is no energetic resonance or connection with who you are or what is in your life. It is a time for a shift into a new level of creation and understanding. For your limitations, you can learn about how you limit yourself. From your unhappiness, you can create new opportunities for joy. From your pain, you can find new ways to express love. For each thing you no longer need, there is something waiting to replace it. Once you embrace the transformation and allow new ways of thinking and being to become your new reality. There is also a great power in being able to release yourself from what you no longer need, because you release yourself from energy and you are also allow it to move on, as it no longer needs you either. Then you can each move on into other experiences that you do resonate with. This is true of the people in your life, the job you know you must change, the beliefs that limit your joy, and the thoughts that keep you in fear. When you know that these must change, allow the change to happen with joy and gratitude, and be aware that releasing what you no longer need allows new energy to enter your life. And once you realize you no longer need something, a healing and learning cycle has been completed, and you have moved into a new level of energetic vibration, experience, and potential. All right, so that's pretty good and very important information, you know. We hold on to so much because remember, it all is energy. It's all about energy. And so everything in life is energy. And the more we know how to work with it, the better it is. If we have energy and we're holding on to something that we've no longer needed because we've used it up, it's just like bags. We've got to let it go. So we're continually learning how to process energy. Take it on, release it. It's that simple. And so we hold energy in many different areas. Our emotions, our intellect. Meditation is one of the tools that is used for clearing and help to balance that energy, because it gives you a moment to still the mind, to go in to allow yourself an opportunity to get rid of the things you no longer need, to silence the mind. That's very important. We move around in a world where there's so much chatter all the time. Just think about, even at nighttime when you're laying in bed, all the noise that you can hear. Not necessarily the noise of nature, but think of the noise you can hear of the technology around you. The buzzes of computers or vehicles moving by, or things in the air flying, or just hums of electronic equipment, refrigerators. I mean, it's everywhere. You can't escape it. The radios, the televisions, the music, the CDs, the movies, everything. And we just need to be able to shut all that out at some point in time, and the way we do it is we go inside, still the mind. That way we can find out what we need to let go of, and sometimes all of that chatter we need to let go of, because that's what's holding us back. That's what's keeping us locked in a prison, because the chatter sometimes tells us we're not good enough, we can't do this, don't go there, don't try that. That's what the chatter tells. If you listen, there's a lot of fear in the chatter. We need to replace that fear, and the way we do is you go inside, so you learn to turn away from that fear, to not listen to it. All right, here is our message for today. This is from the High Council of Orion.
Channeled Ascension message from the High Council of Orion.
The 7th of November, 2013. Channeled by Holly Hawkins Marwood, transcribed by Paul Marwood. Release the old you.
The Council.
Greetings, dear ones. We are the High Council of Orion. We ask you today to step firmly, gracefully, clearly, into who you want to be and not who you have been. Every human being on the planet has a history, and yet as many of you are experiencing History becomes such a relative term when your experience of time seems to be going by so quickly, and many of you can chuckle to yourself about how many lifetimes you feel like you might have lived, in the span of one incarnation. We ask you to boldly stop redefining who you are by who you have been, for you are not who you were when you were 5 years old, or 15 years old, or at whatever age you wish to put in there. The truth is, you are none of those things anymore, and you are not those stories anymore either. Any more than you are currently embodying the stories of who you were in other lifetimes. If you walked around and told the story of your life in this incarnation, and used references to problems and victimization and things like that from other lifetimes, it would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? It would be laughable, and people could easily say to you, well, that was another lifetime, let it go. And we would say to you also, let go of anything that is in your past, that's the story that you're holding that is holding you back. We would politely and lovingly say to you about anything in your past, who cares? For the truth is, you're not that person anymore, are you? Yet you have an incredible future in front of you that is being made and formed, and designed in this very moment. We ask you to let go of the old paradigms, let go of the old stories, let go of the old lifetimes, even in this lifetime, and stand firmly where you are at now, in terms of who you know yourself to be now, and look forward to who you are becoming. In those moments where you find yourself telling the story to yourself or to others about what happened in your past, we ask you to stop yourself even mid-sentence, even if those of who you are with beg you to continue on. Allow yourself to stop mid-sentence, stop telling the story, stop repeating the history that you wish to not be there anymore. And shift your story to who you know you are now, and who you know you are becoming, and who you know you wish to become. You are the architect of your life, you are the designer of your now and your future, so allow yourself to embody all the changes that you've made in this lifetime. Allow yourself to be in a more healed, more confident, more understanding, more connected, more spiritual, healthier, whatever term you want to add in the place, and allow yourself to only be defined by what you are in this moment, and where you know you are going, or where you know you wish to go. Where you are striving to be. This will take some retraining, this will take some choice to let go of the past and not let the past define your now. But the more you do this, the faster you move forward, the more you are in your present moment, the more you're free to create and recreate who you are again and again, for you have unshackled yourself from your past. We say to you also, if you find yourself aware of needing to tell and retell an old story over and over again, spend some time with yourself and ask yourself why you need to keep resurrecting that energy. What part of it can you free yourself of? What part of it is unhealed? What part of it can you release? What part of it can you jettison out of your energy field and say it's in the past? What's done is done, what others have done is done. And I am in my here and now, I am only looking forward to my future. Evaluate why those stories need to come up over and over again. Why is it that the tale of wounding needs to be repeated over and over again? Why is it that the emotions need to keep recirculating and recycling in ways that aren't beneficial? What is it about them that you're not willing to let go of, and then heal it, release it? Become aware of it, free yourself from the burden of it, and feel the openness and the expansiveness as you step into who you are now, and as you have your gaze on the future of who you want to be and who you will be, and who you know yourself to be in all of your glory, in all of your infinite soul's expression. Set down the burden of your past and enjoy your present, and look forward to your future. Be blessed. We are the High Council of Orion.
Alright, very nice. So, did you notice a particular theme there? Talked about releasing, just like the thing that I read. So, let's go and look at our angel message today. See if there's any synchronicity in this message as well. It says, to heal the situation, look at the other person's view and position with compassion and love. To heal the situation, look at the other person's view and position with compassion and love. Alright, very nice. So, shall we meditate? Think about some good things. Let's use this time as we go into the weekend, and let's use this meditation to look at the idea of releasing so that we can move forward. Alright, letting go of the baggage no longer needed. So go ahead and take a deep breath. Exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. I want you to imagine that you are walking along the path of life. And as you walk along the path of life, you realize that you have chains around your ankles and around your wrists. And as you walk, you drag these long, long, long chains. And these chains represent past experiences, past lives, past incarnations, past experiences, things that we are still carrying with us. And we realize how challenging it is to continue to carry all of these chains, how burdensome. So we decide that we need to let go. We need to let go of those past moments because they have come and gone, and we need to allow ourselves to be here in the present, moving into the future. So we go ahead and we put our hand over the chain around our wrist, and as we do so, wishing for it to be released, it releases itself. And we feel lighter. So we reach over to our other wrist. We put our hand on the chain there around the wrist, and we think about releasing, and we let go, and the chain falls off our wrist as well. So we continue this same process of releasing the chains from our ankles and from any other place the chains are attached that we're dragging along, until there are no more chains, until we walk freely. And we turn back and we look at those chains that are there lying on the ground, and we look at them and we send to them love and gratitude, and we tell them we no longer need them, for we have gained the experience that they have taught from the lessons and experiences that they have brought to our lives. But we now know that we must move forward without them. So as we thank them for the lessons, we see all of those past experiences dissipate, and we turn back, facing forward, looking at the path ahead, feeling much lighter. And as we walk along the path, we notice there's a little bit more bounce in our step. We feel happier. We feel clearer and more focused, because no longer do we have to focus on the pain of carrying that past, but we can experience the joy of moving forward. So we move forward, and as we go forth over the course of this weekend, let's just continue to find ways to let go of things that we no longer need. To use this time that we are in, this transition, this changing that we are all going through, let us use this time just to let go. And as we let go, moving forward, we find ourselves looking into a mirror. And as we look into this mirror, we see a reflection of who we are becoming, who we are to be. And we continue to walk forward confidently, knowing that this ever-evolving process of life has taken us exactly where we need to be. And we now know that we are ready to move forward, to be who we are to be. Thankful for who we were. Grateful to be who we are right now. So as we go forth this weekend, let's continue to let go of those things we no longer need. And through our experience, inspire others to do the same thing. So go ahead and take another deep breath now. And exhale. One more deep breath. And exhale. Now let's go ahead and open our eyes on the count of 3. 3, coming back, filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment, filled with faith. And finally, 1, coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Go ahead and open your eyes. That is it, my friend. That is our show for today. Thank you very much for being here. Have a great weekend. Go out and have some fun, and just remember all the good things about life. I know it can get really heavy with all the challenges, but if we go out and we just keep doing good things, those good things will spread and others will keep doing good things. And this is a world filled with people who want to do good things. So let's just keep encouraging that, so that the good eventually pushes the bad away. That's it. I'll be back on Monday with more news and information. Thanks for being here. Have an awesome weekend. FirstContactRadio.com. Peace. I'm out of here.